Hello and warm regards from NEXT IAS team. Welcome to another episode of Daily News Analysis. Today is 16th September and the topics that we are going to cover today include: the first topic is ISA, International Seabed Authority. Indian government has got a contract to explore the minerals at the ocean sea floor in Indian Ocean, and it has been provided by ISA. So we are going to see what minerals we are going to explore and what is this ISA. The second topic is Aluminium-ion Battery. Now, Indian scientists have developed a battery which is flexible, reliable and safe, and we are going to see what is this aluminium-ion battery and what are the other batteries that are available in the market. The third topic is National Engineers Day, which is celebrated on 15th September. We are going to see why it is celebrated on 15th September, which personality is related with this particular date. Then the fourth topic is STSC, Prevention of Atrocities Act. In this context, Supreme Court has given a verdict on the anticipatory bail provision of Section 18 under this Act. So we are going to see what is this particular provision and something about the Act. And lastly, in the decoded section, we are going to discuss about the procurement reforms that have come and how it is going to help the innovation in the country and why it was must required and what are the challenges that are still prevalent in the procurement policy of India. So with this, we start for the first topic, that is International Seabed Authority. So let's go to the first topic. The first topic is the International Seabed Authority. Now, what is the backdrop here? As we have already discussed, that India has got license to score new parts of Indian Ocean for precious metals. That means that India has got a license that it can explore the ocean seabed and can gather the minerals which are available at the seabed. Now, this topic is relevant both from Prelims as well as Mains point of view. If we see from the Prelims point of view, then it becomes relevant in topics like UN clause. It becomes important from the topic like polymetallic nodules or polymetallic sulfur nodules. So these things, on these things the question can be asked. The question can be asked upon ISA also, International Seabed Authority, about what is this particular authority, what is the mandate of it, how it was formed, these things, who are the members of this particular authority. Now, from GS paper 1 in the mains part, it becomes relevant from distribution of key natural resources across the world. So, minerals like cobalt, nickel, manganese, sulfur, their exploration and their distribution, from that perspective also, this topic becomes important. And we are going to cover both the things. Now, first of all, what is the news here? The news is that Indian government has signed a contract with the International Seabed Authority to explore the polymetallic sulfur nodules. Basically, India earlier had also signed these agreements and India has applied for one more agreement. Now, we can explore this polymetallic sulfur nodules from the seabed. Also, there is another thing known as polymetallic nodules. So, there are basically two types of things that can be explored from the seabed. One is polymetallic sulfur nodules and another is polymetallic nodules. Now, for us in this news, what becomes important for us? Now, first of all, what are these polymetallic sulfur nodules? We are going to see that. What are the other minerals that we are going to see along with the sulfur? The next thing is that where is this Carlsberg Ridge? Because this particular agreement has been given for the Carlsberg Ridge, that is in the Indian Ocean. So, Indian Ocean, this particular line along the Indian plate and the Arabian plate, this Carlsberg Ridge is situated. It is a 3 lakh square kilometer stretch or between the Indian and the Arabian tectonic plate. So, it is basically in the northwest part of the Indian Ocean. So, this location you should be knowing. The next thing is, what is this polymetallic sulfide? Two things I have told you. One is polymetallic sulfide nodules and second one is polymetallic nodules. So, first of all, polymetallic sulfide nodules. These polymetallic sulfide nodules are basically found in the areas where there is ridges, or you can say where their two tectonic plates are actually meeting. So, these are found along the mid-oceanic ridges, in the Indian Oceanic Ridge and the central and the Pacific hydrothermal fields. The formation is linked with the minerals precipitate when hot metal rich fluids, that means magma, comes from the vent and meet the cold seawater. So, these nodules are formed when the hot magma comes out of the earth's interior and it gets cooled when it comes in contact with the seawater. The minerals that we can explore here include like manganese, cobalt, nickel, copper, small amounts of gold and silver can also be explored along with the sulfur. So these are the minerals that can be explored through these polymetallic sulfides. Then the nature is that these are formed along the hydrothermal vents on the mid-oceanic ridges. Already we have discussed the location of them. The use includes that they are the base metal and the precious metal. Base metal means that metals like cobalt and nickel are the base metals upon which other metals can be added. Now next is the polymetallic nodules. These are basically manganese nodules, and these are potato-sized rock-like concentration found on the deep ocean floor. Now their formation is different from the polymetallic sulfides. The formation, how it is different? They are formed by precipitation over millions of years from seawater around a nucleus. A small nucleus will be there, around which there will be precipitation of precipitation or concentration of these particular minerals, and these minerals come out from the seawater. They are rich in manganese, nickel, cobalt and copper. They are abundant along the Calirian-Calyptran zone and the central Indian Ocean basin. So these are the particular two regions in which these polymetallic nodules are very concentrated. One is in Pacific Ocean and another one is in Indian Ocean. Now, what is the utility? They are crucial for the renewable energy technologies, EV batteries, wind turbines, solar panels, cobalt, nickel and copper की वजह से. Now, if we talk about India, so India have applied for exploration rights for multiple areas. Now, if we see, the exploration in high seas require the permission of International Seabed Authority, and it is headquartered in Jamaica, in the Kingston. The headquarter of Jamaica, the ISA is there. Currently, 9 other countries are having these such similar rights. India is having, and other than India, 18 countries are also having these particular rights to explore the sea bed. Now, India has earlier also secured such kind of contracts. For example, in 2002, for the Central Indian Ocean Basin, India has secured such rights. The 2-year extension was given, and these rights will expire in 2027. Then along the Indian Ocean ridge for polymetallic sulfides, agreement was signed in 2016 and it will expire in 2031. The next is India in 2024 have applied for 2 more areas. One is Carlsberg Ridge, which has been approved. Another one is Afri-Nikitan Seamount, which is under consideration. This Afri-Nikitan Seamount is situated somewhere here. Somewhere here is the location of this Afri-Nikitan Seamount. Now, there is a contrasting claim. The Sri Lanka is also claiming exploration right over this region, and India is also exploring. India is also claiming exploration right over this region. So that's why the decision has not been made upon this Afri-Nikitan Seamount. The next thing is the UN clause. UN clause means United Nations Convention on the Laws of Sea. India is signatory to this particular convention. Now, under this UN clause, this ISA has been formed. UN clause says that any country will have a right over the surrounding sea to it. Now, this surrounding sea has been divided into 3 parts. One is the territorial sea, another one is the contiguous zone, and third one is the exclusive economic zone. Up to 12 nautical miles, the area will be known as territorial sea. What do you mean by 12 nautical miles, and what do we mean by this territorial sea? For example, this is India's coastline. So, from this coastline up to 12 nautical miles, we have the territorial waters or territorial sea, where India's rules will be applicable. The second is the contiguous zone. So, up to 24 nautical miles, the contiguous zone is there. And after that, from this 12 nautical miles or from territorial waters up to 200 nautical miles, we have the exclusive economic zone, where this particular country will have the rights for exploring the seabed, fisheries or any of the marine resources. So, up to 200 nautical miles from territorial waters के बाद जो 200 nautical mile आएगा, वहाँ तक the country have the rights to explore the marine resources. They may be the living or they may be the non-living resources. Living resources means fisheries हो गई या other marine organisms हो गए. Non-marine resources, non-living means for example petroleum, under the earth exploration is there, or these polymetallic nodules are there. So up to this, India is having whole rights. Now, in terms of Bay of Bengal, this exclusive economic zone can reach up to 500 nautical miles. Now, next is the International Seabed Authority. One more thing, this 200 nautical miles is the standard one, but certain areas may have exception. For example, Bay of Bengal is having an exception of 500 nautical miles. Now, next is the International Seabed Authority. This was constituted in 1994 under the 1982 UN clause. Now, there was an agreement, 1994 agreement, under which this particular body was formed. Now, what is the mandate of this body? The mandate of this body is to organize and control all mineral resource rich related activities in the area for the benefit of humankind as a whole. So, if any country wants to explore mineral resources in the high seas, what is the area of high seas? High seas is the area that is beyond the contiguous zone. So, it is the area beyond this exclusive economic zone. So, India want to explore the area in this region, then it has to take the permission of the International Seabed Authority. It will ensure effective protection of marine environment from harmful effect on the deep sea bed activities. Now, the membership includes whichever countries have signed this UN clause, they are going to be the member of this ISA. India is one of the member of ISA, and currently there are total 170 members in this International Seabed Authority, 169 states plus European Union. So, all are the members of ISA. USA has not signed this particular convention, that is UN clause. That's why USA is also not a member of ISA. Now, it's your turn. You have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box. Let's move to the second topic. The second topic that we are having is the flexible aqueous aluminium-ion battery. Now, this particular battery, as we are seeing that the ambit of renewable energy in country is increasing. We have solar energy, we have wind energy, then we have tidal energy. The problem with the renewable energy is that during day we have the solar energy, but during night there is no solar energy. That's why we are not able to generate electricity. So, we need something where we can store the surplus energy that has been generated during the daytime. In that context, the battery is very, very important. Now, with this, the batteries have also application in the electric vehicles, in our mobile phone, and in every equipment that we see, batteries have an application. Now, in this context, we face challenges that the batteries don't have a long lasting charging power, their energy density is low. Sometimes we are facing issues with unsafeness of those batteries. The batteries are very, very rigid. Solid state batteries we are still developing. In this context, a new thing has come up, that is flexible aqueous aluminium-ion battery concept. Now, this has been developed indigenously by Indian scientists, and this is a breakthrough invention. So, let's see about that. So, backdrop is there that the Indian scientists have developed the flexible, safe, eco-friendly battery, a big step towards sustainable energy. Now, this topic is relevant from GS paper 3, direct topic is there, achievement of Indians in science and technology and indigenization of technology and developing new technology. So, from these two topics, this topic become relevant. Now, what is the news? The news is that a novel battery technology has been developed by the Indian scientists, and it has been developed by by the collaboration of two organizations. One is the Center for Nano and Soft Metal Sciences, which is an autonomous organization under Department of Science and Technology under Government of India. Second is Center for Nanoscience and Engineering, which is at Indian Institute of Science, that is Bangalore. So, these two institutions have developed this particular new aluminium-ion battery concept. Now, let's see what is the whole concept about. First of all, this concept uses aluminium ions and a water-based solution. Now, by use of these two things, this battery becomes safe. There are no problems of catching fire or overheating. This is cheap because aluminium is readily available. For example, lithium batteries that we are having, lithium ion batteries that we are using today, the lithium metal is very, very expensive and is very rare also. And China is controlling most of the lithium supplies. So, it makes the battery expensive. But aluminium, India is itself having a lot of aluminium belt. If you know, the bauxite belt of India is in the eastern side in Odisha, Jharkhand, southern part of Jharkhand, and some parts of the Chhattisgarh also. But basically it is the northeastern or the western belt of the Odisha which is having bauxite concentrations. So we have a lot of bauxite concentration, that's why this battery becomes cheaper for us. It is also environment friendly and it will reduce the risk of explosion and environmental hazards. So this is the benefit of this battery. Now aluminium, if we talk about, the aluminium has a high energy storage capability and release potential is also very high. So aluminium is a fit candidate for making batteries. But the problem with aluminium was that it was having a complicated chemistry, and that was a barrier in making batteries or using it to make batteries. Now this barrier has been overcome by the scientists. How they have overcome? They have got this breakthrough by microscopic material engineering. In this, what they have done is that they have designed a unique cathode from copper hexacyanoferrate filled with aluminium ions and the anode of molybdenum trioxide. So copper and molybdenum cathode and anode have been used here to make this aluminium batteries. The resultant has been a very flexible, powerful and efficient battery. Now this particular concept is so unique because the battery can be folded like a paper. As you can fold a paper into a U shape, this battery can be folded. So when we see the foldable screens, now we have the foldable batteries also that will be coming up in the future. Now next is the feature is that it is highly efficient. It retains 96.77% of the capacity even after 150 charge and discharge cycles. Then it is a flexible design. It can be bended or folded completely half without any damage, like this. For example, this is the battery, it can be folded in this manner as well. So it is a unique thing about this battery. Now potential application, it can be used in flexible smartphones, displays, wearable devices, seamlessly integrated into clothing as well because flexibility is there. Then safer electrical vehicles with reduced hazard risk. The next is a significance. If we talk about, it is a major step towards multivalent ion battery technology because this is the next step that we are having. It positions India at the forefront of next generation energy storage solutions, and India needs it because India is having a target of 500 gigawatts non-fossil fuel power generation by 2030. And for that we need battery type storage systems where we can store the extra surplus energy. As I've told you that solar energy, in day we have availability of solar energy, but at night we do not have it. So we need to store the surplus energy. For that we need these kind of solutions which are having high energy storing capability as well as are reliable, are safe and are versatile in use and are also cheap, and which this particular aluminum ion battery can solve the problem. Now it supports the sustainable and eco-friendly energy solutions that India needs. Now next is, what are the type of battery system that we have? We have basically two types of battery systems. One is a primary battery system, another one is a secondary battery system. जो प्राइमरी है that is non rechargeable, जो हम घर में यूज करते हैं बैटरीज, जो आपके the batteries that we use in remotes of AC or TV. But the another one is the secondary batteries that are rechargeable batteries that are used in the mobile phones, inverters, your laptops, your tabs, or in the electric vehicles. So there are two things, one is primary, second one is secondary. Primary is not rechargeable and secondary is rechargeable. So first of all, let's see the examples of the primary batteries that we are having. Primary batteries, the foremost is alkaline batteries that we have, जो हम हमेशा से यूज करते आए हैं. Zinc magnesium oxide batteries that are used in toys, remotes and flashlights. Then we have zinc carbon batteries. Then we have silver iodide, zinc air batteries and lithium primary batteries. Lithium primary batteries are used for you can say those equipments which have high energy requirement or steady requirement, like cameras, pacemakers or military equipments. So you can say lithium primary batteries are having a long shelf life and are used in those equipments which have particular requirement. Next is the secondary or rechargeable batteries. Now these batteries include things like lead based batteries, then nickel based batteries, then we have lithium based batteries and sodium based batteries. Lithium में lead में आ जाएगा, lead acid battery is there. Then we have valve regulated lead acid batteries there that is coming up, in which it is maintenance free the batteries that we see ki you don't need to maintain them, these are the valve regulated lead acid batteries. These are the traditional batteries that we see along with the inverters, or in your car batteries that are put up, these are basically this lead acid batteries. The next we have nickel based batteries, the nickel cadmium and nickel metal hydride batteries. But with the nickel cadmium batteries, the problem is with respect to the toxicity that is cadmium is having, and it is having negative environmental effect also. Then we have lithium based batteries, which include lithium ion battery, but the problem is that they although are having high density, high energy density, but the problem of safety is there, because sometimes these batteries have also exploded, they have caught fire due to increase in temperature. The lithium polymer battery is there, it is better than the lithium ion batteries. Then solid state batteries are also being tested. One more battery is in pipeline, that is lithium sulfur batteries, that will be having high capacity, but they are still in research and development stage. Then we are also seeing development of the sodium based batteries like sodium ion battery and sodium sulfur batteries. The lithium ion batteries are expensive also. In place of that, we are now trying for this sodium ion batteries, because sodium is readily available and it will decrease the battery cost to a very considerable level. Now after this, it's your turn. You have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box. And we now move to the third topic. The third topic is Engineers Day. It is celebrated on 15th September. The backdrop here is that Prime Minister pays tribute to Sir M. Visvesvaraya on Engineers Day. Why Engineers Day on 15th September? Because it is the birth date of Sir M. Visvesvaraya, who was a great engineer, who was a great administrator, and who was a great statesman as well. Now, what is the relevance of this particular topic? This particular topic becomes important from GS paper 3. In GS paper 3, the topic that includes achievements of Indians in science and technology, from this perspective, this topic becomes important for us. And UPSC has asked question upon the contributions of important and eminent scientists in the country. So you should be preparing a list of scientists who are important in our country. Now next we go to about Sir M. Visvesvaraya. His full name was Sir Moksha Gundam Visvesvaraya, and he was born on 15th September 1861, and he was a renowned civil engineer, administrator and a statesman. He revolutionized Indian engineering and administration. His contribution was towards irrigation, water management and infrastructure that has been immense. Now he has also been known as father of modern Mysore, and for his lifelong contributions he was awarded with Bharat Ratna in 1955, which is highest civilian award in the country. Now his early life, he was born on 15 September 1861 in Kingdom of Mysore. His parents originally belonged to Andhra Pradesh, but they came to Mysore. Now it is in Karnataka. His early education was itself in Bengaluru, but for his graduation he went to University of Madras, and he did his diploma in civil engineering from College of Engineering in Pune. At that time, this College of Engineering was known as the College of Science under University of Bombay. So under this he did his graduation. He became an engineer. He founded the Deccan Club and was the first secretary also. And during his life, he has been connected with social reformers and freedom fighters like Gopal Krishna Gokhale, R.G. Bhandarkar and Mahadev Govind Ranade. That's why his contribution has been towards the betterment of the Indian people. Now if we see his career, his early career was related with the engineering stream. He has been the engineer, assistant engineer, then he became civil engineer, and later he became the chief engineer also. And he worked at different locations. He worked in Bombay Presidency, then in Sindh, then Pune, then at Shimla also. So there has been a lot of areas where he has worked. Now in 1912 to 1918, he was appointed as Diwan of Mysore, and he initiated the industrial and education reforms there. That's why he is known as the father of modern Mysore. From 1927 to 1955, he has been a board member of the Tata Steel Industries. Now if we talk about his contributions, so in the engineering field itself, he has given innovations in the block irrigation system, that was the Deccan canals. then Sukkur Waterworks solution in the Indus along the Indus River, then automated floodgates he contributed at the Khandwasa Reservoir in Pune, then Krishna Raja Sagar Dam in Mysore. So these were the contributions in the engineering field. Then he founded institutions like Government Engineering College in Bengaluru, now it is known as UVCE, Mysore Soap Factory, Bangalore Polytechnic and State Bank of Mysore. He was a pioneers in formation of this State Bank of Mysore. Now State Bank of Mysore has been merged with SBI. Next is economic vision. You might have read in the modern history about the Visvesvaraya plan. In 1934, he gave the plan for the development or economic and social development of the country, that was known as Visvesvaraya plan. Now, next thing is the awards and honors. So, in 1911, he was given the Companion of the Order of the Indian Empire. Then in 1915, Knights Commander of the Order of the Indian Empire. Then 1955, he was accorded with the Bharat Ratna Award, that is the highest civilian award in India. Then other recognitions include honorary memberships at Indian Institute of Civil Engineers, fellowship in the Indian Institute of Sciences, honorary degrees in 8 universities, president of the Indian Science Congress, and multiple institutions have been named after him, like Visvesvaraya Technological University, Belagavi, and NIT Nagpur. Now, in the Google Dougal also, he has been honored on its 157th birthday in 2018. So this was about Visvesvaraya, and now you have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box, and we move to the fourth topic. Now the fourth topic is STSC Prevention of Atrocities Act, and we are discussing about the anticipatory bails here, because the backdrop is that the Supreme Court cancelled the anticipatory bails granted to a caste crime accused, and earlier the Session Court didn't allow for the anticipatory bail, then High Court allowed for it, and Supreme Court later on rejected the anticipatory bail. Now this topic is relevant from GS paper 2, mechanisms, laws and institutions and bodies constituted for the protection and betterment of the vulnerable sections. So from this topic, this particular act becomes very, very important. Now your homework is you have to note down which are the constitutional articles that relate directly with the betterment of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities. So you have to talk about the fundamental rights, you have to talk about the DPSP provisions, you have to talk about the fundamental duties, then the special bodies like National Commission for Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribes, and other provisions that are there for the betterment and for taking care of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities in the country. So you have to make a list of it. Now let's go to the news. The news is that in the case of Kiran versus Rajkumar Jeevraj Jain, a bench led by Chief Justice of India B.R. Gavai has held Section 18 of the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 to be constitutional. It has clearly said that it is a specific bar against anticipatory bail for crimes made out of prima facie. Now this particular case involves caste-based assault, abuse and intimidation linked with the electoral dispute. So in this particular judgment, the Supreme Court has said that the Section 18 is very much valid, and Section 18 says that there will not be any anticipatory bail, which is the provision for which is provided under Section 438 of CRPC. Now it has been converted to the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. So under that particular act, this anticipatory bail will not be allowed. So Section 18 overrides the anticipatory bail provisions provided under the CRPC or the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Then it is intended to prevent the intimidation of victims and secure effective prosecution. So basically this Section 18 has been provided because if a person who has committed this crime and he goes out with the anticipatory bail, he may intimidate, he may use force, he may influence, he may use his influence to more victimize the victim. So to avoid that thing, this the Section 18, a strict stringent provision of not allowing anticipatory bail has been provided under Section 18 of the STSC Act. Now if we go for the references for this particular verdict, earlier also in cases like State of MP versus Ramkrishna Balotia or Vilas Pandurang Pawar versus State of Maharashtra, or Prithviraj Chauhan versus Union of India, in these cases also this particular provision under section 18 have been upheld. Section 18, if we talk about in the verbatim, it says section 488 of the code does not apply to persons committing an offence under the Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act of 1989. Now, if we talk about this particular act has been enacted to give effect to the section to the Article 17 and to Article 15 also. Article 15 says prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth. So here the caste element is there, and Supreme Court has said that the enforcement of Article 15 is the duty of the Government of India. So if any private citizen is violating this Article 15, that is, he is prohibiting or discriminating any person on basis of caste or any of this particular things, the union government or the state government has to make certain rules in which the violation of article can be prevented. Then Article 17 itself says that the untouchability will not be practiced in the country, it is abolished. Now, to give effect to these articles, this particular act was framed. If we see Article 15, it talks about that the state shall not discriminate against any citizen ground on the religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. But it is talking about state. So here the Supreme Court clarified that for enforcement, if any violation is by the private citizen, then the rule has to be made by law has to be made by the union government. No citizen shall, on the grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth or any of them, will be subject to any disability, liability, restriction or condition. So this particular act helps in enforcement of Article 15. Then Article 17 talks about the abolition of untouchability. So for these enforcement of these particular provisions, this particular act has been framed. Now, earlier if we talk about at the time of independence, the Untouchability Offences Act in 1955 was framed. This particular act was framed to give the force to Article 17, but it has certain limitations, like the definitions were very weak, the punishments were weak. So that's why due to weak punishment, it was not acting as a deterrent against untouchability. There was poor enforcement also, because at the time of independence the caste lines were very deep. Then it led to a demand for a more comprehensive law. Then in 1976, this particular act was renamed as Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955. So this is the same act, it has been renamed as this, and there are certain provisions that have been given. So amendment was brought in which the renaming of the act was done. Along with that, major changes like discrimination on the basis of untouchability was added. The provisions were made a little stringent, like the act was made a recognizable offence. The mandatory legal aid, supervising officers, special courts and committees was created. So this act was given some tooth and it was given some strongness. Then after that, it was again having certain limitations, like it does not recognize many of the caste based crimes, that was still out of its ambit. It was too lenient, weak monitoring and ineffective enforcement was seen. Now after that, in 1989, this Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act was brought. It was brought on 11 September 1989. And it actually provided, the objective was to explicitly prevent offences against SC and ST. That's why section 18 kind of provisions are there in this act. It provides speedy justice, monitoring, accountability, relief and rehabilitation. Now next is the amendments have been brought to this act. In 2015 and 2018, 2 amendments were brought. The 2015 Act added Charter 4A, that is right of victims and witnesses. It expanded the list of offences under section 3. It also introduced section 14A, which for a time bound trial. Then clear accountability for officials was also enforced, and it came into effect on 26th January 2016. Then after that, in 2018, Supreme Court gave a certain judgment. In that judgment, Supreme Court said that it restricted the immediate arrest under the act. In this particular act, it is said that if an FIR has been lodged, then the particular accused will be arrested. Supreme Court said that this is against the fundamental rights. That's why this particular provision will be restricted. Now, to surpass, or you can say to overcome this particular challenge, in 2018, amendment was brought, and under this amendment, the section 18 was introduced in this act. This particular section says that no preliminary inquiry is required for an FIR. First of all, no approval needed for the arrest. So explicitly, this particular Supreme Court judgment was overcome by this provision. Anticipatory bail barred the atrocities, barred for the atrocities. The next is Supreme Court held the constitutional validity of this particular amendment, and now this is in force. In 2018, another amendment was made. It clarified the relief provisions and it expanded the state vigilance and the monetary committees. Then in 2019, amendment was made that this act was now applicable in the whole of India. Why it was not applicable earlier? Because earlier Jammu and Kashmir was out of its ambit. Now, after the abolition of the Article 370, abrogation of the Article 370, this particular act was now applicable to Jammu and Kashmir also. Now, with this, you have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box, and we move to the last topic in the decoded section. Now, the fifth topic is procurement reforms and innovation. We procure, the government procures, government needs a lot of things, it procures from the private sector. So, there are certain procurement rules, and those rules become a hindrance for the innovation in the country. Let's see how. The backdrop is that the recent reforms to its general financial rules, which eased restrictions on R&D procurement, offer opportunity to reposition procurement as a driver of this scientific ambition rather than an obstacle to it. So, there has been some reforms in the general financial rules, and it is going to help in innovation. Then relevance, GS paper 3, effect of liberalization on economy, changes in industrial policy and the effects on the industrial growth. So, in this context, we are going to see this particular article. Now, first of all, what is the news here? What is the backdrop here? The backdrop is that there has been changes in the general financial rules. Where do these general financial rules come in? These general financial rules come in when there has to be some reform, some procurement. अगर गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट को कुछ बाय करना है तो उस केस में जनरल फाइनेंशियल रूल्स कम इन. For example, if Department of Science and Technology need to buy certain equipments, so it has to give a tender, and after the tender there are going to be some applications. They have to sort out the applications, and from those applications they have to buy. Now, to promote the GEM portal, the government has said that there, to a certain extent, there has to be procurement from the GEM portal itself. Now, although we want to actually help out the domestic suppliers, but in this context we are compromising with the quality. जो क्वालिटी हमें बाहर से मिलती है वो क्वालिटी हमें डोमेस्टिक सप्लायर से कई बार कुछ इक्विपमेंट्स में नहीं मिलती. But we are bound by the rules. That's why we have to settle out with the inferior quality or the less quality that was required. Now, let's see what are the rules. There has been changes in the rule. The changes is that now there has been exemptions from buying from the government e-marketplace. Now, certain departments have now been exempted. They don't need to buy mandatorily from GEM portal. If they think they need some certain thing which is available in the international market with a better quality, with a better specification, then they can directly buy from that. Then enhance the financial threshold for the R&D procurement. Basically, R&D was facing this problem because in India we are not manufacturing much of the equipments of R&D. R&D equipments are being manufactured more at a very higher quality in the international market. So, for this we needed this reform that there should be a flexibility where the departments can actually procure the required scientific equipments or any other equipments from the international market. In this regard, these reforms have been brought in. Now, key highlights are that non-GEM procurement has been now allowed. Research institutions can now bypass or they can now directly buy the specialized scientific equipments from the international market or the international supplier. Second, there will be greater autonomy. The directors and vice chancellors now are empowered to approve specialized purchase and global tenders. There has been enhanced financial ceilings also. For example, initially for the direct purchase, that means you can directly go to the market and you can purchase the things. 1 lakh limit was there. Now this has been increased to 2 lakhs. It has been now doubled. Then departmental committee purchases. For example, a department is there. There are certain departmental committees which are formed and which actually follow this process of procurement. Now their limit has also been increased from 1 to 10 lakhs to 2 to 25 lakhs. So it simply means up to 1 lakh individual person can procure directly from the market. Then 2 lakhs now. Earlier it was 1 lakh. Now beyond from 2 to 25 lakhs, the departmental committees can purchase. Then limited and advertised tenders up to 50 lakh was the limit. Now it has been increased to 1 crores. So if any procurement has to be done that is more than 25 lakhs, then the third mechanism is there, that is the limited and advertised tender. That means you have to give an advertisement in the newspaper and the tenders are going to be applied. So up to 1 crore, this limit has been made to 1 crores. Now for the global tenders, that will be only done by the head of the institutions. They have been given autonomy that up to 200 crores of procurement they can do by themselves, but they have to follow the process. Earlier up to 200 they have to take permission from the higher bureaucratic officials. Now that permission has been waived off. They can directly buy, but they have to follow the set procedure. Now this thing is going to help because scientific equipments have a certain scientific research institutions have a certain scientific requirement. That requirement can only be understood by a scientist, not by a bureaucrat. So this particular relaxation is going to help them in procuring better equipments, and it is going to help in innovation also. Now next thing is, if we see what are the issues in the government procurement process. First and foremost is the procedural delays. There is a lot of paperwork, multiple clearances are required. They slow down the whole process. There are rigid rules which cannot be bypassed, and they cause delay in acquiring specialized research tools. So first thing is the paperwork, the procedure that we are having, that is very cumbersome and it lead to time delays in procurement. Second is bureaucratic bottlenecks are also there. It adds to the first point. The approval, it has to go multiple layers of hierarchy, because it's not like that one person can approve. It has to go all the way up to the highest level. Committees are also there which are going to decide upon that particular procurement. Then decision making power is very low at the institutional level. So this is another problem that is again leading to time delays. Then financial threshold and issues are there. Earlier the up to a certain limit only the approval can be given. Now this limit has also been increased. Very low direct purchase limit was there. Earlier it was 1 lakh, now it is 2 lakhs. Or you can say if the departmental purchase committees are doing, then it is up to 50 lakh, 25 lakhs, and up to 1 crore through tenders it can be procured. But beyond 1 crore, the procurement was only to be done through the bureaucratic pathway. Now this has been increased to 200 crores. Now up to 200 crores, the vice chancellor or the head of the institution can directly procure through the tender process. Then high value procurement need approval from the center, causing the delays. So see, all these three reasons, the procedure, the bureaucracy and the financial thresholds, they were leading to time delays in the procurement. And technology is changing on a daily basis. If we are taking 1 year to procure one scientific equipment, see how much demoralizing it will be, how much we are left behind in innovation pathway. And this is the point where countries like China or USA are far ahead of us, or Germany are far ahead of us, because they are able to maintain a balance between the innovation and the procurement. So first reason for having a negative impact on the innovation from procurement side is the time delays, and time delays are due to procedure delay, bureaucratic bottlenecks, and the financial threshold. The second issue is of the quality part. Now, first of all, we are overemphasized upon the cost. If you need quality, you need to pay for it. We are emphasized over the cost. We have a rule which is known as lowest bid or L1 system. Whichever is satisfying the basic needs and has the lowest cost, that will be given the tender. We should be focusing upon quality equipment, and quality equipment will be costly. So the first problem is the overemphasis on the cost. The lowest bid system does not allow the quality equipments to be procured. It leads to poor quality supplies, especially in R&D and infrastructure. The second is lack of flexibility. We follow a one-size-fits approach, and if we see the sectors like defense, health, science, they have their own requirement, they have their own specialized requirement. So this one-size-fit approach is again affecting the quality of the equipments or the supplies that we are procuring. Then there is capacity constraints also, because the officials themselves are lacking technical expertise. That's why we are not able to ensure the good quality equipments for us. So that is another problem. There is poor vendor assessment, and contract management skills are also not very good or not up to mark. So first problem is the time delay. Second problem is the quality that we are having of the supplies that we are procuring. The next is corruption and misuse. We know the red tapeism. It is leading to corruption. So there are loopholes that are being exploited for favoritism and rent seeking. The transparency measures also sometimes reduce are also not very much efficient in reducing the fraud, but they are restricting innovation. Now, when there is favoritism, when there is corruption, what is it is going to do? It is going to demoralize the vendors. That's why we have a weak vendor system. The first reason for a weak vendor system is because we are having corruption in the system. The genuine vendors are getting penalized. There is a problem of favoritism. There is problem of rent seeking. Then the second problem is that there is only limited requirement through platforms like GEM. So they do not have a wider market to cater to. That's why they are again demoralized. The ecosystem again weakens. The domestic suppliers are also often sidelined by the global tenders. So that is another problem. So we need to balance both the things. We need to balance the quality part. We need to balance the domestic vendors' financial health also. The next is insufficient R&D focus. The procurement framework designed for routine goods and services, not for the specialized R&D. There is limited incentive for innovation, patent filing, or high-tech collaborations. So all these things lead to a weak vendor ecosystem and a less quality supply procurement. Then inadequate monitoring is also there. We are not having a proper monitoring. That's why the corruption and misuse we are seeing. We are not having proper monitoring and accountability. That's why there are time delays, there are quality issues. So the weak enforcement of timeline is there. There is a lack of strong oversight mechanism to ensure ethical issues of procurement and power. So we need to make this good. If we are making this good, then we can overcome the issue of corruption and misuses. We will be able to overcome the issue of times and delays. Even the time delays is another reason why we have a weak vendor ecosystem, because vendors are not very much motivated. बहुत टाइम लगेगा किसी चीज को प्रोक्योर होने में, उतनी देर में तो वेंडर कहीं और जाके सेल करेगा, किसी और बिजनेस में जाएगा. So these are the reasons, these are interconnected reasons due to which we are facing challenges in the procurement, and that's why it is affecting our innovation as well. Now next thing is that the recent reforms जो अभी किए हैं, the reforms that we have studied, what are the challenges or limitations in those reforms? First of all, the direct purchase limit of 2 lakh rupees is very less, and the research field need high cost equipment, so it should be increased. Then the global tenders that we are focusing upon, they may marginalize the domestic suppliers. So we need to see, that has to be seen at the institution level or the procurement level itself, that wherever we can prioritize the domestic vendors, we should prioritize, and when we are not able to find anything from the domestic vendors, then we can go for the global tenders. Then policy assumes ethical standards among the institutional heads also. We need to see that there can be corruption at the level of institutions also. For that we need a better monitoring mechanism. It is very much crucial. So these are the concerns regarding the recent reforms done in June 2025. Then what are the suggested measures that we can take? First of all, policy and rule flexibility need to be there. We need to introduce the outcome based procurement instead of the only cost based procurement, so that we can balance the quality and the cost element. We should allow sandbox exemptions for premier institutions like IITs, IISc or CSIR. Then digitalization and AI integration. Use AI driven procurement assessment to assistance for scanning global suppliers, predicting delivery timelines, etc., to ensure a timeliness. Then build a single national research procurement portal. One we are having GEM, then another portal we can have single national research procurement portal dedicated for R&D only. So that we can dedicate ourselves, we can dedicate a whole procurement portal for the R&D needs. Then time bound approvals are required. There should be statutory timelines for tender evaluations and purchase approvals, so that the rent seeking or the favoritism type of things can be avoided, or unnecessary delays can be avoided. And there will be accountability over the bureaucracy also, that they should be either rejecting or approving a particular tender within a time frame. Then strengthening domestic ecosystem. We need to strengthen or encourage the local manufacturers by reserving a share of procurement for domestic R&D equipment makers. So we need to first of all provide them their surety that there will be certain procurement from their side. Also we need to help them financially or through some policies in which they can focus upon quality or the required specialized equipments. Then incentivize co-development with the startups and MSMEs. Then collaborative procurement models can also be explored. For example, joint procurement by multiple labs or universities for high value equipments. उससे हमारा cost भी कम होगा और quality maintained रहेगा. Then promote consortium based contracts to reduce duplication of efforts. Then capacity building and accountability. Train procurement officers, because our officers or the procuring personnels were not having enough specialized knowledge for R&D equipment procurement. So for that we need to train them. Use third party audits to maintain transparency and avoiding over regulation. Then financial flexibility is required. Introduce rolling procurement budgets so that the unused funds of 1 year can be used or carried forward for the next year. So these things can be done for making our procurement process better. Now with this we conclude for the day, and this is the mains question that you can try to attempt this question. The question is based upon the inadequate monitoring and accountability mechanism, how it is leading to issues in the transparency and efficiency in the procurement process. So you need to link the lack of proper monitoring and accountability mechanism, how it is leading to time delays, quality issues, and the corruption and favoritism like of things, and how it is affecting our procurement process. So with this we conclude for the day. Thank you very much and have a nice day.